Nice to meet you, Miss McClure.
Nice to meet you.
May I help you with your bag?
Oh, no, that's okay. I got it. I know I'm running a little behind schedule. I was going to rent a car, but they didn't have the model that I wanted, so I took a cab instead, which actually probably saved me a lot of time since the traffic out there only seems to be getting worse, and cab drivers usually know our shortcuts, but I think this guy took the long way. It's okay. I'll pick up a car later when we're done here.
You want some coffee or something?
Do you have any tea?
Tea?
Yes, Earl Grey, Twinings, English breakfast.
Have a seat, will you?
Oh, thank you.
Each victim was Caucasian, no blemishes, no malformations, and no birthmarks. Now, the numbers have been tattooed on with imperishable ink, and we found traces of formalin in each of the specimens. Now, that would explain why they're so well preserved. Now, these tiny punctures you see here and here all the way around, those are suture marks, and each specimen has them.
Which would suggest they've all been severed and reattached.
What about age, Vince?
Well, there does seem to be a relationship between the numbers on the palms and the approximate age of the victim.
So the lower the number, the younger the victim?
Yeah, that's right. I'm guessing we're looking at about 5 years of age for the smallest specimen, and about 10 to 12 for the largest.
Excuse me.
Miss McClure?
Yes, I have a question. I was just wondering about what efforts were made to identify the victims.
Well, we fingerprinted each one of the specimens, of course, but if the hands all come from children, get a match on an optical bank.
We've requested birth certificates for local missing children, but there's no fast way to match out the handprints. Probably take weeks to get through what comes in.
Well, what about DNA fingerprinting?
Well, what would be the point? We don't have any samples to match to.
Well, what about parents of missing children?
We've already pulled the National MP list into our database. That's over 2,000 names.
And each one of those would have to be crossed, indexed, one at a time. The only rapid search we could run is our local list.
So why not take samples from that?
We don't know yet that the victims are only local.
And we'd have the families of every missing persons case for the last 10 years down here on our backs.
Not if you reduce the list of candidates to those matching the specimens for age and gender.
Miss McClure, you are talking about contacting parents who are wondering if their children are still alive and asking them to come down here for a blood test. They're going to want to know why. What do we tell them?
We tell them that we have remains which need to be identified.
They already know about the hands.
See, it really doesn't matter what we tell them after we make that call, because they're going to be so frightened that it is their child, they're not going to be able to think of anything else. And if you multiply that fear by several hundred, we would have a situation here that we could hardly control.
Well, it seems to me that you don't have a crime scene and you don't have any identifiable remains unless you make some assumptions. Now, in order to go forward and profile a suspect, you need a victimology. I mean, without that as a base, you really don't have anything, do you?
Yes, well, now that the rain has let up, I expect we're going to find the rest of the victims' remains in the sewers in the next few days. And that is our top priority right now.
Yes, but if all the victims' remains were thrown into the sewer pipe at the same time, they could be scattered all over the city by now. And why would the hands be placed in a bag? Maybe because the hands were dumped separately from the bodies. Maybe the bodies were dumped somewhere else. I mean, what if those remains are miles away in another sewer pipe?
We won't know that unless we look for them, will we?